lead with my heart, lead with my work, my man. We look great, but let's all slow down and take real work every single day in order to make something like this happen. So for me, the work has started already. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm not a stranger to work. My relationship with work is great. So I'm looking forward to doing whatever it is I need to do, whoever I need to talk to make sure that we get on the same page and that everybody's focused on the same thing. Because that we do that, then we'll be where we want to be.
Final question, back left, Gary Washburn.
Jalen, Gary Washburn, Boston Globe. How difficult have the past 6 weeks been? You were obviously open for, the Giannis trade potentially didn't go through. Then you were kind of dangled out there for a while. Then people started kind of dissecting your game, dissecting your personality, your impact in the locker room. How did you deal with that, and how difficult was that? And now are you motivated to change what people think of you?
Yeah, how difficult? What's the honest? How do I answer that, Gary? I don't know. I feel like I've dealt with that for a while, internally, externally. You know what I mean? I just choose to not focus on. I choose to focus on what I focus on. Obviously, it got to a threshold this offseason that was a little bit higher than it's been in the past, right? Where I think people attacked my character. Someone even went as far as said I had a disease. So it's been a crazy transition, to be honest. But none of it is completely surprising. Even though some of these things were said externally, internally, and through organization and stuff like that, there's been conversations that, so to be honest, how surprised was I? I wasn't that surprised. It's just been a crazy process and transition. And then obviously getting traded to the Sixers, somebody that you competed against for the last 10 years, someone that you've just been a rival. And that was a process too. So it's been a lot of stuff, and then having to move your family and move places, and it has been a lot. But people deal with it every day. People have to change, relocate. Players. I'm not complaining up here. I appreciate you asking the question, but it is what it is. So let's get to it.
All right, looks like the press conference involving Jaylen Brown, the former NBA Finals MVP with the Boston Celtics, now a member of the Philadelphia 76ers after that blockbuster trade. Looks like they're going to do the jersey presentation portion of this now with the ownership group. So let's go ahead and actually continue with the audio. Well, looks like they actually killed the audio feed for that, but you can see Jaylen Brown there right now taking pictures with the ownership group. The new number 7 Philadelphia 76ers jersey with the blue and the red, white, and blue. Team obviously named after 1776, which is kind of ironic. We're now in the 250, America 250, and a team that has a lot of symbolism with their sports teams. You not just have the Philadelphia 76ers, but you also have the Philadelphia Eagles, which use the same mascot as the United States bird, one of the most iconic figures of the United States. But this is going to be a pretty stacked roster that Jaylen Brown is going to be walking into in Philadelphia when the 76ers involve a number of different players. You saw them at the bottom of your screen. LeBron James, VJ Edgecombe, Tyrese Maxey, an NBA All-Star, but also a former NBA MVP in Joel Embiid, though he's got a lot of injury questions that need to be answered too. So if he's able to stay healthy, and all these guys are able to stay healthy,
Thanks for joining us. Welcome to All Day Live. I'm Courtney Godfrey. Let's do a check of your headlines. A Senate committee voted along party lines today to hold Dr. Anthony Fauci in contempt of Congress over his refusal to answer questions at a hearing on his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. The vote sets up a referral to the Department of Justice for potential investigation over whether the country's longtime top infectious disease official properly exercised his constitutional rights. You'll remember that he invoked his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination more than 100 times when appearing before the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Government Affairs last week. St. Paul Mayor Kali Herr is expected to make her first public appearance this afternoon since sexual harassment claims were made against her. Her will speak at a groundbreaking ceremony for a mixed-use development on Grand Avenue, marking the first scheduled public appearance for the city leader since news of an independent investigation broke. And if you're planning to cool off this week, you're going to want to avoid Cedar Lake in Minneapolis. The Minneapolis Park and Rec Board has issued a hazardous blue-green algae warning for all 3 beaches on Cedar, urging people and pets to avoid contact. Officials say the toxins can cause illness, and the beaches will remain under warning until conditions improve. And good news for State Fair traffic. Highway 280 in St. Paul is set to reopen ahead of this year's Great Minnesota Get-Together. Tonight, MnDOT is holding a public meeting to update neighbors on the project, discuss what's been completed, and outline the remaining work expected later this year. If you want to attend, it's from 4:30 to 6:30 at the Van Cleve Recreation Center gym in Minneapolis. All right, we've got a great show coming up for you today. Let's just break down what's on tap. 2:30, we're going to talk the Gophers, the University of Minnesota, and how they're getting creative with name, image, and likeness. We're going to have the assistant athletic director on to talk about that. At 3 p.m., the former Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara will be on our show. This is the first time Fox 9 has spoken to O'Hara since he resigned. And at 3:30, Mayor Herr is expected, like I mentioned, at a St. Paul apartment groundbreaking. This will be her first public appearance since sexual harassment allegations came about. And at 4:15, we're going to have a discussion with a historian about World War II. 4:30. Meet the candidates. Rob Olson talked to Mike Lindell earlier today. Lindell is running as a Republican on the governor's ticket, and Rob had a 10-minute conversation with him this afternoon that we will be replaying. I couldn't do this show without my trusty producers. Grace Henry joins me today. Grace, you're looking lovely with your slick back hair just like me.
I know, we're twinning
We
today.
are. We
it's
are.
so fun. I mean, the slick back, it's never going to die. It's never going to die. People said 2026, the slick back hairstyle is done, but it's here to stay because...
Have people said that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was like the era of, it was going to be messy buns again and all of that, but no, I love a slick back. I mean, when your hair is dirty, and my hair is dirty today.
Listen, I'm on TV every day, and my hair is dirty 4 out of 5 days of that week. I don't wash my hair that often, and it's no secret.
It's no secret. We don't have secrets.
Well, I'm going to chop my hair off pretty soon. So
okay. Give me if your hairstylist to do a 2-for-1 deal, I've been itching to chop mine off. My hair is, I mean, obviously you can't tell right now, but it's the longest I've ever had it in my entire life. So
yeah, well, TBD on whether chopping your hair off makes it lower maintenance or if it's just going to be more maintenance.
I think it's lower maintenance.
We'll see.
I mean, we'll see for you, but for me, I think it'll get chopped off. It's just easy. You can run a straightener through it really quickly, and then you're good to go. I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We love the beauty routines around here, don't we, Grace?
Oh yeah, it takes up a lot of our day chatting about it, but not really.
I got a laser on my face last night, so it's actually, you know what, you
look gorgeous. I can't tell at all.
That's because I did put makeup
Yep.
on. We're not quite to the 24-hour mark, so I am sorry to the dermatologist who did the laser. Yes, I put makeup on before we hit the 24-hour mark, but if I didn't, I was going to look wild on TV. So
I described it as looking like a really splotchy spray tan.
Yeah, when I showed up to the meeting this morning, several people thought that I had like self-tanned. And I'm like, no, I just burned my face off.
Well, you know.
Pain is beauty, Grace.
Beauty is pain, yep.
Pain is beauty. All right. Like I said, we've got a great show ahead for you. Some good interviews on tap just in the next couple of minutes. So we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to check in with a friend of ours, Mark Zimmer. He's better known as the Barefoot Paddler. He has portaged and hiked and camped on almost every inch of the Boundary Waters canoe area, and he's been in since they've started these reopenings. He's going to give us an update on what it looks like in there and what other campers should know before they plan a trip. Stay right there. Welcome back. Well, I'm hearing that we're having some audio issues with our next guest, but we're going to give it a go anyway. As more Boundary Waters entry points start to reopen after weeks of wildfire closures, we wanted to bring in someone who knows the wilderness as well as just about anybody. He calls himself the Barefoot Paddler. Mark Zimmer joins us now. Mark, how is it there in the Boundary Waters today?
It's nice. It's a little windy.
So you, I'm sure, went in as soon as these openings kicked in. When you're in the Boundary Waters, what are you seeing? I mean, are you seeing burned areas? Are you having trouble getting around because of debris everywhere? Tell me what the sights and sounds of the Boundary Waters are right now following these wildfires.
Well, we're not allowed in any other areas that have been burnt. So everywhere that we've been able to go still looks like it always has. And I'm guessing that we won't be able to go into them areas until next spring. So we really won't know what it looks like until then.
What has it been like for you? I know the Boundary Waters mean so much to you. You spend your entire summer in the Boundary Waters, camping and portaging, foraging, eating off the land, living off the land. What has it been like for you being able to be back in there after several weeks locked out?
It's nice. It's nice that it opened back up. It gives me a lot more options. I know the area better than I know the Superior National Forest, so I know where I can go to get, the fish and the berries that I need.
So there is still a burn ban in place for overnight campers there in the Boundary Waters. How has that impacted you and your way of life?
Fire bans affect me tremendously. I cook a lot of wild rice out here. It gives me a lot of energy, and it's just not really possible to do on them little stoves. I cook for 45 minutes at a time. Um, so my whole diet changes. I mean, I guess I eat more instant food and stuff, and I don't. It's not as good for you, but it does the trick. And then of course, the berries and the fish are always, really what sustain me.
And the Superior National Forest is right next to the Boundary Waters. It's much of the same landscape. From my understanding, you've been going into the National Forest and camping sometimes just so you can make a fire and cook.
Yeah. Yep. It's important for me to have the fires, I guess. With my frying pan, I'm just way better at cooking with it. And then I can go back. I can do my day trips now into the Boundary Waters for a little bit. Go back, cook at night the way that I'm used to. I'm not burning up, costly fuel. So that part of it is really nice. And then I'll head back into the Boundary Waters full time again. Probably time.
For those who are planning a trip to the Boundary Waters, do you think that will impact people, not being able to have a fire and cook? Or how do you think people should plan for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you just bring a stove, and when you got more people, it's easier to carry more stuff. So you can carry, a little bit bigger stove and everything. And, most people aren't out here for extended periods of time. So it's a lot easier to bring with things that, most people bring ice and coolers with and stuff like that. I base everything off of dry food and extended trips. So I guess my food is generally different than what people have to begin with. But yeah, just bring a stove with, and, dry up whatever you need to, or, do what you need to do.
Have you run into other campers since you've been back in this week? And is it a little crowded because there are still, half of the Boundary Waters approximately is still closed? Is it a little more crowded than you're used to? How many people are you seeing in there?
Yeah, I think the lakes that I've been to have been very busy. And it's a good thing that people are coming back up here and enjoying it again, because it was pretty bare for a little while, which was kind of eerie in the summer. But yeah, the lakes that I've been to, I mean, I was on the other day, and every campsite on the lake was taken. So that area is always busy, but once it opened back up, it got full right away again. So people are out here.
I know that you talk a lot to the locals, a lot of the outfitters and lodge owners. What's it been like for the community there since being able to reopen?
I mean, things are looking better. The thing about it is during the busiest season, is when we lost the majority of our business. So it's really not going to be able to be made up for, because we only have a limited amount of permits, that go out. So it's really not possible to make up for that. But as long as people come up here and support us in all the ways that they can, then hopefully we can all make it through.
What's your advice to people who have a trip coming up to the Boundary Waters?
Just do things like usual. Come in and enjoy the land. My advice to everybody is, plan your trips, but when you do it, slow down and enjoy the scenery, and, suck it all in.
But it sounds like you haven't really noticed a difference in the landscape, and it hasn't changed your movements due to the fires that are around you.
Not yet, no, but next year it's going to absolutely change everything that I do. So I always go to where the forest fires have burned the year before and watch them grow. It's fun to do, and then now we have huge swaths of area that I get to do that. I also have to retake pictures of all my campsites, because they look a lot different now than they did in the last since I was there.
Right, and you do upload photos of all the campgrounds, and you provide a map for campers who want to go out. They can find that on your website, the Barefoot Traveler, thebarefootpaddler.com. What do you expect it to look like? You've been in the Boundary Waters after a big burn. What do you expect it to look like next summer?
Usually, I mean, I'm expecting a lot of, standing pine trees yet. Most of the undergrowth I'm expecting to be pretty much all gone. Uh, I mean, everything's going to start growing again right away. And even if the fire isn't burning in certain areas now, I mean, regrowth could still happen, by the end of this fall. We could have plants growing again right away. It doesn't take long for them to come back. So next year is just, it's going to be a lot of, the fireweed and stuff, the plants that come right away. And then all the jack pines are going to get tangled together in a few years, and it's going to be super thick. And it's the berries get really thick after that, and it's a fun to watch the forest grow.
Amazing. It's always great to get your insight since you know the Boundary Waters so well. I know you're happy to be back, even if it is a little busier now as everybody's crowded into a smaller area. Thank you, Mark, for making the time.
Thank you.
All right, that was Mark Zimmer, the Barefoot Paddler. Like I mentioned, you can visit his website, barefootpaddler.com, and follow his journeys as he spends every summer camping and portaging in the Boundary Waters. No one knows the Boundary Waters better than that man. We are going to take a quick break, but we'll be back after this. Welcome back. The city of Minneapolis spent around $3 million in police overtime during Operation Metro Surge. In a news conference earlier today, Mayor Jacob Frey was defending that spend. He's saying he wanted to clear up some what he called misinformation about the numbers. We want to play you a clip from that press conference. Take a listen.
There has been a narrative that the overtime spent wasn't in fact necessary and we could have avoided those overages. I'll start over then. There was this narrative out there that the overtime that was spent was unnecessary and we could have somehow avoided those hours and those dollars. Largely, we found that to be false. The spend that we would have had had we continued on with the 888 officers that we had back in 2020, would have been more than the total spend that we've had today between officer salaries plus the overtime itself. So in other words, even with the overtime hours that we conducted, we still were not able to get back even remotely close to the hours of service required. Minneapolis is not at all unique in this dynamic. There were several cities around the country that saw significant attrition in their police departments, resulting in a need for additional overtime hours. But we have felt that dynamic quite acutely because we've lost approximately 40% of our officers. And so when you need to add overtime hours to respond to 911 calls, when we need to fill shifts to make sure that the core and critical work of the Minneapolis Police Department is conducted and people get the service that they deserve, you do overtime. And of course, when major crises take place, ranging from Annunciation to Operation Metro Surge, we understand that overtime is absolutely necessary because we've been through instances where we did not have the proper staffing. I was the mayor back in 2020. And I'll tell you, I would make the same decision every day of the week and twice on Sundays to have officers that are available on standby, ready to go, than not have them available.
All right, that was Mayor Jacob Fry talking about the $3 million that they spent in overtime pay for police officers during Operation Metro Surge. This all comes as the mayor is currently facing a $30 million budget shortfall for the 2027 Minneapolis city budget. Many of his critics have said that that huge budget shortfall is because of all the overtime pay. But even, he said, if you account for the overtime police pay, it would not account for all $30 million that they are short. So the mayor right now is in a place where he's looking for cuts elsewhere in City Hall. He is expected to make an announcement of his budget proposal in the coming weeks. All right, it sounds like our next guest is on the line. Name, image, and likeness, or NIL, has transformed college sports, changing how student athletes can earn money and how schools recruit and retain talent. To help us understand what that looks like at the University of Minnesota and where name, image, and likeness is headed, we're joined by Gophers Executive Associate Athletic Director Jeremiah Carter. Jeremiah, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So how did name, image, and likeness change the game, literally change the game?
Yeah, so back in 2021, NCAA changed course and deregulated what student athletes could earn off of their name, image, and likeness in a commercial way. And beginning in 2021, we really started to see it impacting what players were going to what schools and how teams were put together. Like with anything, the influence of money, was really, ended up being pretty impactful for the types of players that both Minnesota and other programs had access to. So with that, there have been a lot of changes in the 5 years following that. To the point where now, universities are allowed to do that directly with athletes, while still having some of kind of the outside business piece there as well. But, we're constantly trying to adapt to that change here at Minnesota.
So the University of Minnesota actually has an NIL collective called Dinkytown Athletes. Can you explain how this works?
Yeah, so that's another thing that really has evolved over time. For a long time, from 2021 to actually July of last year, universities were not allowed to pay directly. So we were not allowed to enter into a deal with an athlete and pay out of university revenues for NIL. So these things called collectives kind of sprung up that allowed, fans, allowed donors, allowed businesses to kind of pool resources to help to recruit and retain athletes. While, for us, we maintained a close relationship with them, making sure that we were continuing to abide by NCAA rules while also making sure that we had the resources necessary to be competitive in that space. In the last year, since July of 2025, now that universities are allowed to pay directly, that relationship has changed a little bit, and Dinkytown Athletes is now much more tied into kind of the fan experience. Lots of fans, they love the access that NIL gives them, and Dinkytown Athletes has a membership program that really kind of stewards that both on the athlete side and for the fans.
So it's my understanding that your department actually went to some of the professional sports teams in town to get advice on how to handle this. Tell me what you guys did.
Yeah, so once we knew that we were going to be allowed as an institution to be able to directly pay players, 1,000 questions sprung up, right? And as we looked around, we often hear that being in a pro sports market here in the Twin Cities is a detriment to us, right? Because we have to compete for eyeballs. If you think about it, we're on the Green Line light rail train, Huntington Bank Stadium is, and on that train you can see literally every professional sports league that there is, from the Twins, and Major League Baseball all the way to, the Timberwolves and the NBA, WNBA. You also have the Vikings. You also have the Wild. You also have even the St. Paul Saints, right? Minor League Baseball. So, that and United as well. So, we wanted to really take advantage in the best way that we could of the knowledge and expertise that professional sports have in this area. And so Mark Coyle, our athletic director, made some phone calls and got some meetings set up, and really to listen and to learn as much as possible for, how do they approach roster planning? How do they approach negotiations? Things of that nature, to really kind of inform us of how do we're starting from ground zero, we're starting from scratch. How do we build something that's going to put Minnesota in the best position possible moving forward in this competitive landscape?
But the University of Minnesota is towards the bottom of its conference as far as how much money it can offer, spending power. That has got to impact the talent that you guys can attract.
It has been interesting, right, to watch this evolve over a couple of years. And, what you're referencing, our budget, university athletic department budget, we're 14th out of 18. That's not a secret. We have the resources we have. So yes, we are competing against teams that have more resources. At the same time, I would say, look at our track record over the last 4 years. We've made huge strides in men's basketball. Our women's basketball team just made a run to the Sweet 16. Our football program, consistently wins 7 to 8 football games a season, including having a good record against teams that have more resources. So, for us, it was, we're not magically going to change and be a top 4 revenue producer in the Big Ten, and we know that. But we are going to find a way to be competitive and to achieve the goals that we set out for our teams, for our programs. With the resources that we have, as we constantly try and grow and improve and get better.
But money talks. I mean, is that fair? I know, listen, you have the money that you have, but when you're looking at Ohio State and Michigan, I'm reading they routinely generate $250 million to $330 million plus, compared to the University of Minnesota, which was $160 million. I mean, money talks. That's got to make it a little unfair. Do you feel like it's unfair when you're competing with schools like that?
College athletics, we often talk about trying to have a level playing field. the reality is the playing field is what it is, right? Ohio State has 100 plus seat stadium for football, right? That's a huge revenue driver. So that part of it is is what it is. We can either complain about it, right? We can, feel sorry for ourselves, or we can say, you know what? We are going to be better with our resources than anybody else, right? We're gonna kind of punch above our weight class. And again, we've been able to consistently do that. I don't, I've been in college athletics for a long time. I don't know that there's a magic pill that's all of a sudden going to make everything equal. It's not. But we also, as being a member of the Big Ten Conference, are in a tremendous position to be successful, and we are always going to put our best foot forward to be competitive and really, again, achieve our goals on an annual basis.
So I'm reading that you actually run point on all the data on this, that when NIL went into place, that your role really shifted, and you collect all the data, you help everybody understand what you've got and how to use it. What's the secret, Jeremiah, to making to stretching a dollar?
Yeah. Well, if I told you the secret, then everybody else would have it. So, but I want to say, one, we have a tremendous team here at the University of Minnesota. Travis Cameron, who is our chief revenue officer, and really, he has come in. He spent a little bit of time with the Twins. He's from Iowa, and he really dug into some of the background and data, and was able to work with myself and then work with our coaches to build out a system that is going to be useful for them to make decisions. The biggest challenge that we had kind of transitioning into the NIL era was the speed at which decisions get made. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, before NIL, the recruiting process with an athlete was multiple years, right? You get to know their family, you see them come up through high school, you build a relationship and talk them into coming to the University of Minnesota, choosing us, right? Now we are having decisions that are made because of transferring athletes, because of late high school decisions. We are getting to the point where we have to make decisions in real time in some cases, in a matter of hours, where we have to decide not only who do we want to pursue as part of our team, but what do we have in terms of, do we have a competitive offer? Are we able to make that move? It's not a months-long free agent process. It's lightning quick. So what we set out to do was to try and provide our coaches with the tools that they need to be able to make those decisions very, very quickly, but also from the administrative side, from our sport administrators to our athletic director, to be able to objectively look at the data in front of them and say, okay, I understand why we are making this decision, and the fundamentals of this decision, the athlete's value, the impact that they're going to have on the team. We feel good about making this investment in our future. So it really is about working with the coaches and making sure that they have the tools to make quick decisions, and at the administrative level, that we have the confidence that they're making those decisions based on something more than just that gut feeling that player is going to pan out or that player is going to pan out.
Yeah. So how do you put a monetary value on a player? What goes into that?
Yeah, and that's one, to reference back to kind of your first question, that's a piece where, the professional leagues have been doing it for decades, right? You have to look at the whole picture of what is kind of the overall market look like, and then what impact will this player have on our program, from a competitive standpoint, but then also, with each of these, we want to make sure that first and foremost, the athlete is a right fit for the University of Minnesota. our athletes go to class. Our athletes graduate. Those are expectations. Those are baseline expectations. They're members of our community, and we want to make sure we're bringing in the right members of our community. So the competitive piece and how good they are going to be, or how good we project them to be, is always going to be an important conversation point. Is always going to be an important thing we're tracking on. But first and foremost, our coaches need to evaluate whether or not that player is the right fit for our program and our culture and what we expect out of athletes.
I know you went to the professional teams for advice on this and guidance, and we talked about that, but how do you compete? Because we are a city that has several professional sports teams. You know, we have the Vikings, the Wild, the Timberwolves, the Lynx. So you're competing with some major sports teams for sponsorship, name rights, corporate dollars. How do you, where, you have schools like Nebraska, they're in Lincoln, or Iowa, they don't have professional sports teams to compete with. Kind of compare that. You guys are in a market where you're competing for dollars with these professional teams. That's got to make it a little harder.
Yeah. And, when you're the only show in town, right? Like it's, that's definitely a different environment. But for us, it really, we know that we have to bring our A game with everything, whether it's the food that we offer at concessions, whether it's the fan experience that we offer. We know that we are being compared in the fans' mind. We're being compared to the experience at US Bank Stadium or Target Center, Target Field. So that's always, we're always looking to innovate and kind of find where we fit into this overall market. At the same time, we know that we have a market of people who love sports. And they love all sorts of sports. And we are able to come in and offer unique experiences, right? Women's volleyball, everything from, swimming and diving. We offer 22 sports, right? So anything that somebody is interested in, we likely have a place for them to come and watch our athletes compete. We also offer a connection to the University of Minnesota. We have one of the largest alumni bases. The University of Minnesota Twin Cities has one of the largest alumni bases in the country. And we know that people love the University of Minnesota and have that built-in affinity for the University of Minnesota. And what we are trying to do is give them something to be proud of and give them something to celebrate.
At the end of the day, do you think name, image, and likeness allows you guys to retain and recruit better talent?
Yeah, the data would say yes, that we are able to do that. You look at our football program, right? We kick off in I think 28 days, right? Which we need every one of those days to get ready, but you look at the team that we have brought back there. We're brought back a preseason All-American defensive lineman in Anthony Smith, who is picked, to preseason to be, the defensive player of the year in the Big Ten. That is somebody who 5 years ago is playing in the NFL right now. I can say with confidence, without NIL, we would not have had an opportunity to bring him back. And now we do. And our fans are going to be able to watch him play. And he's just a little ways away from breaking the career sack record at the University of Minnesota. That's going to be fun to watch, right? Because of NIL, we are able to keep players like Anthony, who would be an NFL player right now without NIL. I would say the same is true in football and basketball. That it's also true in volleyball and men's ice hockey and women's basketball. We have what we think is a fighting chance to keep as many of the players as we want, as long as it's the right fit within our team. And overall, it's more fun to watch. You have better players, and it's more entertaining.
But you have had players leave for more money. You had Corey Parrish, safety, go to the Oregon Ducks because they could offer him more money.
Yeah. I'd push back on that a little bit just to say that athletes transfer for lots of reasons. Athletes transferred before NIL, and they're continuing to transfer now. And it's not always just about a number. Does Oregon have a higher payroll than us? Yes, flat out. The complete sentence, yes. But that doesn't mean necessarily that that anytime we have a player who's high profile, that we are going to lose them because of a higher offer. Again, you could point to several other players on the team that we've retained, who had a huge impact on our defense or on our offense to our program over the last few years that we have been able to maintain. The goal is always to have the best team possible, not the best individual players possible. And sometimes to make the best team possible, you have to make hard decisions. And that's something that, everybody is making hard decisions. You can keep anybody you want to, but you can't keep everybody. So at times we have to make hard decisions, and we're as a Gopher football alum and fan, I'm really excited about the upcoming season and who we're running out there on our opening game, and expect a great season.
Yeah, I mean, it's a balance, right? It's like, these guys obviously want to make money, but they also want good culture. Culture, I'm sure, even with NIL, still plays a role. I mean, I heard PJ Fleck at Big Ten Media Day talk about that and, kind of boast about how many players they're able to retain, the staff that they're able to retain. So it sounds like, with the money has to also come culture, and a culture that the players want to be a part of.
Absolutely. And, as I mentioned, right, first and foremost, we need athletes that want to be at Minnesota. I've lived in Minnesota, a long time. And if you don't want to be in Minnesota in February and January, there's no amount of money that's going to keep you here, right? So first and foremost, we need athletes that want to be at Minnesota. If we start from there, then we know that we can be competitive in player offers, and arguably a player that's only choosing Minnesota because we're the highest bidder is not a player that we're going to be able to hold on to, because eventually somebody's going to there's always another offer out there for just about everybody. So first and foremost, it's about having teams that our players want to be a part of. That starts with the coaching staff, their teammates, the support that they receive at the University of Minnesota, from strength and conditioning to our training room and our top-notch doctors and trainers, training table meals that we're able to provide them. And ultimately the education and the degree that they'll receive from the University of Minnesota, we think it still has significant value. And that's ultimately, the goal of all of this is to graduate our athletes and put people out into our community who are ready to contribute to the community and are ready to be, good members of our community.
Great. Jeremiah Carter, great conversation. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, that was Jeremiah Carter, the Gophers Executive Associate Athletic Director. He's in charge of all things name, image, and likeness over there in the Gophers Athletic Department. Really interesting conversation on how NIL has transformed college sports. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on All Day Live. I'm Courtney Godfrey. Couldn't do it without my producer, Grace Henry. She joins me in the control room. Grace always lets me know when I've misreported something, flubbed something, or just off the rails again. She reins me in.
Oh, I don't know about that. You don't go off the rails that often. Sometimes you do make me laugh to the point where I have to take myself off camera on screen, but that's the... but we like to have fun on this show.
So last week, speaking of fun, last week, our friend Andrew Dukowitz, he's the Timberwolves and Lynx reporter for both zone coverage. He also covers the Lynx for Sports Illustrated. He's all over Twitter. Great guy. He comes on the show all the time. And last week, executive producer Paul Milgate, who cares more about animals than he does sports, was like,
true.
But Andrew, have you heard about the new baby lynx at the zoo? And talk about going off the rails. Paul then suggested that maybe we should bring the Lynx players to the Minnesota Zoo to do a photo shoot where they're holding the baby lynx, or like the baby lynx are there in the back. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Andrew texted me today, said, tell your Aussie producer you're welcome. And he sent us this video. Roll the tape.
Minnesota Zoo welcomed some lynx kittens in. Any chance we get lynx holding lynx at the zoo?
I did not hear about that. We should check it out. I don't know about it. Oh, no. Are you allowed to? Are you going to
All right, if Mia Coffee shows up to the Minnesota Zoo, come on.
Let me hold your lynx.
Maybe don't phrase it that way.
Like next year or something.
They're like, nah, I don't hold wildlife. Probably a safe bet. But they seemed interested, at least. They're like, oh, baby lynx. Okay, sure.
I think
why are you asking me this?
Yeah, I think that promotion would go crazy. I think it would get a lot of attention. I think everyone would love it. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Lynx holding lynx?
The
zoo would never approve of it, but I think that they should consider.
I think they definitely should. I don't think we have any pictures of them anymore, but they were adorable.
Yes, they just
Adorable.
unveiled them last week. I don't know when they actually go on display at the zoo. They're going to be in the Minnesota Trail area.
Yeah, see, again, I wasn't the person to do this segment. Like, Paul could have actually filled 45 minutes just talking about lynx.
Yeah, he could have.
But let's see. I'm not sure when you're going to be able to see them, but yeah, they were born July 21st. Oh wait, no, that's not correct. See,
Reporting
again,
misinformation,
I know.
Grace.
The baby porcupine was born on July 21st.
In your defense, they announced the baby porcupine at the same time that they announced the baby lynx. Bottom line, thank you to Andrew Dukowitz at Sports Illustrated and Zone Coverage, really getting to the bottom of some hard-hitting journalism there at the media availability with the Lynx players. Andrew Dukowitz, you're the man. Thanks so much. Appreciate that. In other news, did you hear that Kristi Noem was in Wayzata this week?
I sure did. It looked like she had a lovely day. Went for a bike ride, stopped at Grocer's Table in Cove to get some food, which I know we both like those spots.
I do. I live out in that region, not to like give out my address on TV, but
go right ahead.
I think that we talk about it enough that people know I live, that's my neighborhood. And I love Grocer's Table. I love Cove. What's funny is for how much I eat at those locations, Grace, I did not recognize when I saw the paparazzi photos on TMZ. I didn't even recognize it. I thought it was like Santa Monica. So Wayzata is akin to Santa Monica, and said no one ever, but that was what I thought when I saw the photo.
It's our own little vacation spot, very New England vibes. But yeah, I mean, it looked like a wonderful day. Just kind of crazy that she was out in Wayzata. I mean, but why not? Minnesota summers are the best summers. I mean, everyone should come to Minnesota
hanging out
and
with
experience
Corey Lewandowski, having a nice little lunch.
Yeah.
The former Secretary of Homeland Security. Interesting. Last time she was here, she said Minneapolis was dangerous, but
and Wayzata is about 15 minutes from downtown Minneapolis.
she was fine having lunch in Wayzata. So hopefully they enjoyed their lunch.
Well, she is from the Dakotas, or South Dakota. North Dakota. South Dakota.
Oh, you're right.
It's South Dakota, and we are, they're our neighbors to the west. So, I've never been to South Dakota.
Political sighting. in the West Metro. There you go. Also on my list here to talk about today, the first national bank sign is to be lit again in St. Paul. Who we really need talking about this today is our other producer, Kara Savage, because she's our resident St. Paul girly. She's our East Side girl. So, tonight at 9 p.m., the first National Bank sign. So this is the building in St. Paul. It's the big red first, like one ST. It's very, it's iconic for downtown St. Paul. It's a part of the St. Paul skyline, but it has not been lit for a couple years now. And so the Downtown Revival Trust is relighting the sign tonight at 9 p.m. So there you go.
I have to be honest. I didn't know anything about this sign, but next time I'm downtown Minneapolis, I'll take a look at it. But in my opinion, a sign that's even more iconic, like the most iconic structure in Minnesota, is the Fauché Tower in Minneapolis. I think that sign is a sign, I don't know if it lights up, but that's probably the most iconic emblem of Minneapolis, in my opinion. I don't know.
For Minneapolis, sure.
Right.
I think there's a few in Minneapolis.
This is shameful.
I think the Grain Belt sign is.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
To me, that's probably I think of Minneapolis, I think of this cherry and the spoon, and I think of the Grain Belt sign.
Yeah.
I think that when you think St. Paul, you do think about that big red First National Bank sign. And I'm glad to hear it's being relit. I think it's going to light up the skyline again. Apparently, the building has new owners, and the new owners are giving the building new light.
Well, and St. Paul, they've been working hard. They brought back the fireworks off of Cathedral Hill. So, it's always good to see your local downtowns thriving.
Love to see it. All right. After the break, we are going to talk to former Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara. Yesterday, he was on a plane from Newark to Miami and helped subdue an unruly passenger. We're going to talk to the former police chief after the break. Welcome back. Well, it's been over 2 months since we've heard from former Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara. He resigned at the end of May after an outside investigation found he interfered with an internal probe into his conduct. Now, O'Hara is back in the news, helping to subdue an unruly passenger on a flight from Newark to Miami yesterday. Brian O'Hara joins us live. Brian, thanks for coming on the show.
Hi, Courtney. How are you?
I'm great. Again, thanks for coming on the show. It's been a while since we've seen you, so my first question has to be, what have you been up to the last couple of months?
Well, the last couple of months, I have moved back to New Jersey. I've been spending a lot of time with my sons. I have 2 young sons that are now 9 and 15 that I had not seen nearly as much over the last almost 4 years now. So I've just been trying to make up on time that has been lost with them, which I'm thankful to have, and doing some work in consulting with some law enforcement agencies.
And maybe taking a vacation, which is why you were on your way to Miami.
No, I'm here. I'm here working. I'm in the office of V2 Global, which is a consulting firm in Miami that I'm doing some work with.
Okay. So this, like I mentioned, this is the first opportunity that we've been able to chat with you since you resigned. So I want to give you the opportunity to comment on the allegations against you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's certain things I'd like to say, but there's things that I'm not free to discuss. But I can tell you this much. I remain grateful and thankful, to the men and women of the Minneapolis Police Department and just to all of the residents that were incredibly supportive. I think we were able to accomplish a whole lot over the last couple of years that benefited the community and the city. And I think the department is on a good path to continue that work. And I think Chief Billy Peterson is an incredible leader that can help provide the stability and continuity that the city needs to continue to improve.
Do you care to comment on whether you deleted a contact out of your phone, whether you discussed the internal investigation with another employee?
Like I mentioned earlier, I'm not free to speak on some of those matters.
Okay, fair enough. On to what happened yesterday. So you were on a flight with your wife. It sounds like you were flying to Miami for business, like you mentioned, when a passenger started acting unruly. So what happened?
So for about the last 45 minutes on the flight, I remember hearing the dinging of people hitting the alarm for the flight attendants to come. There was some commotion behind me, and a passenger had just become disruptive and erratic. I had thought at the time maybe he had gotten into a fight with someone. And so kind of all of the flight attendants came or over, and they were all women, and they tried to speak to this guy for, it had to be about almost 45 minutes straight. And for a while, there was some talk that the flight might have to be diverted to land sooner. And he was just cussing and just being disrespectful to these women who I can't say enough about how professional they were in the face of that abuse. But eventually, the guy was refusing to stay seated. It was close to landing. I guess something happened where he kind of just got up and sort of was lunging at them. And then that's when I went over, and there were actually 2 passengers in the rear that came over and grabbed him from behind. And they had plastic like flexi cuffs, and we were able to get him handcuffed and seated into the seat so that the flight attendants could go sit down and the plane could land.
What was the point for you where you're like, I'm going to stand up and get involved. I can't let this go on anymore?
I was worried the whole time because he was just so disrespectful to these women. And I can't tell you how professional they were, the flight attendants. And it was just, it was upsetting to see a man, challenge and act so threatening towards these women that were just trying to do their job and trying to keep everybody safe on the plane. But when it became clear that he was getting up and he was lunging, that became like clearly a physical threat that they should not have to deal with.
Do you think anyone on the plane knew who you were? Did they know that you have worked in law enforcement? I mean, your face and your name has been all over the national news the last several years, being the police chief of one of the biggest cities in the country.
No, I don't think so. In New Jersey, it's a little bit different than in Minnesota, kind of where everyone knew me. No one said that they knew who I was. And it turns out the other 2 passengers, I found out today, were off-duty cops from New Jersey, from the Bergen County Sheriff's Office. So they should also, be commended for helping.
Have you ever done anything like this before? Stepped in when you're out of uniform?
Yes, but not on an airplane. And I'm thankful that they had some restraints because it just seemed that the guy was so, behaving so erratically, and they had tried so hard for so long. He wouldn't calm down. I found out today in the police report anyway that they said that the whole thing had happened because he became upset because they wouldn't serve him any more alcohol on the plane.
Yeah, and unfortunately, these incidents, we know that alcohol is usually involved. Did this at all give you the itch to get back into policing?
No, I'm thankful for a little bit of peace that I have in my life now. I'm trying to make up for some lost time with family, but and do what I can to try and be helpful to the profession, to help other young people that are coming up, and help some of the chiefs out here that are trying to think through a lot of the issues that are coming up that they have to deal with. So I'm thankful for the ability to try and share some of the things that I learned that might be helpful for others.
How is your relationship with Mayor Fry right now, and how do you look back on your time in Minneapolis?
I have not spoken to the mayor or heard from him. I look back on my time in the city. I could tell you, especially being from the Northeast, the people in Minneapolis and in Minnesota we're so welcoming. We're so thoughtful. I can't tell you, even now, I still gotten some letters at home, but people reach out. Just the thoughtfulness and how kind people in Minnesota had been the entire time I was there, how supportive they've always been. And really thankful for just the tough job that the men and women of the Minneapolis Police Department did under some really difficult times in that city. I think it's easy to forget now kind of how challenging things were in 2022. There really wasn't much hope for the department or the city. And you certainly couldn't say that at the time. But I think, as time has passed, I think some people in the community have been able to do some healing. Some people in the department have been able to heal a little bit. And there's certainly hope for the future. And I'm thankful that I had an opportunity to be a part of that.
Yeah, you were around, during the murder of Jamal Mitchell, Officer Jamal Mitchell, the shooting at Annunciation Catholic School, some really difficult times. I know you said you're doing consulting now, a little bit of consulting. That's why you're in Miami. But what's next for you?
Just doing this work for now, taking things, kind of one day at a time. I'll be likely starting to do some work with Rutgers University in Newark, which is where I went to college, likely next month, and then just see where things go from here.
When you're able to, when all investigations are wrapped up, will we finally get your side of the story?
I have no idea when that would be or if it would be. I haven't had any communication about this from the city since.
Well, we welcome you back on the show when that concludes and you're able to speak. So thanks for making the time today. Really appreciate you taking the time, Brian.
Thank you. Good to see you again, Courtney.
Good to see you too. We are going to go to break. We'll be back after this. welcome back. Beautiful day, another beautiful day here in the Twin Cities. Erica Mrazek joins me now. I mean, you really can't beat this weather, and I hear we maybe have some rain in the forecast, which we desperately need, so all good news.
All good news for sure, all around. Today, another great day. Yesterday was bright, sunny. Today, still sunny, but there is a little bit more of a milkier tint to the sky because there is some upper level smoke. It's not affecting the lower levels, but that's just why the sky looks a little bit more white to gray rather than a bright blue. But overall, though, it's still really nice with high pressure sitting towards the east. So there's no rain right now, but later into the late evening hours and tonight, there could just be a couple of stray showers up north and west. At the moment, though, barely any clouds. It's a super nice day. Temperatures a touch warmer than yesterday. So yesterday, high temperature was in the upper 70s, low 80s. Right now, low 80s with temperatures that could get a little bit higher into the rest of your afternoon and into the early evening. So the southwest wind bringing in that warmer air today. A little bit breezy, too, especially out towards the west and the north, where there could be some wind gusts of about 30 miles an hour, but some lighter wind everywhere else. And then at the moment, the temperatures are in the 70s and 80s, basically all around, except for up towards parts of the Arrowhead where temperatures are in the 60s for Grand Marais. But 80 here in the Twin Cities, you have 77 Hutchinson, 79 Wilmer, around that everywhere else with temperatures that'll stick to around those degrees for the next couple hours before getting into the 60s for your overnight lows. So pretty mild day overall, still mellow today. But once you get into the later hours into tonight, there could be the chance for a couple stray showers moving in from the north and the west. So that's for northwest Minnesota tonight. A couple rumbles possible too. Then for tomorrow, that goes south and east. So there could be a chance for that in the metro earlier in the day or the middle of the day. And then by the afternoon, that system is going to be south and east. And there could be some rumbles with that. Very low chance that a few of those could pack a punch tomorrow as that system exits the region, goes over towards Wisconsin, through Iowa, even further southeast of that, and to the rest of Friday. So we clear out of that. But then there are going to be just a couple rounds, low chances for a couple isolated showers throughout the weekend and into the sort of next week. So almost each day brings you that chance, but most people are going to miss out on that altogether for the most part because they are pretty isolated. They are not widespread. So after that system, Thursday, Friday, you could see a couple stray showers Saturday night to early Sunday, followed by perhaps a few more Sunday into early Monday. But rain totals from all these are going to be very light. And these aren't huge rain systems or anything like that, but just you want to keep that umbrella handy just in case a shower reaches your area for the next couple days, Courtney, and into the start of next week.
All right, Erica, thanks so much. Appreciate you. We'll see you later on in the show.
Thanks.
All right, switching gears here. Chipotle has pulled jalapenos from many of its locations after a salmonella outbreak was linked to those jalapenos. There have now been 10 cases reported here in Minnesota. Here to talk about it is Dana Eichmeyer with the Minnesota Department of Health. Dana, thanks for coming on the show.
Hi. So yes, we are investigating a pretty large outbreak of salmonella. We actually have 110 cases here in Minnesota that are associated with this outbreak.
Okay, my notes were completely wrong. I was about 100 off, so 110 cases, excuse me. Tell me about these cases. What do we know about these 110 cases?
So the majority of people have reported a meal day at most being at Chipotle from about the end of June to the beginning of July. There's only been about 20% hospitalization. People have recovered, and people have reported eating mostly jalapenos from that restaurant.
Okay, do we know which Chipotle locations these were? Can you disclose which Chipotles were that these individuals ate at?
So it's several locations within the state of Minnesota. So many.
We don't know. Yeah, we can't say the cities.
It's too many to mention.
Okay.
It's
too many to mention. That's
it's about
good.
20 plus locations.
Okay, good enough.
Because it was distributed to all Chipotles.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, so this all happened end of June, beginning of July. You all at MDH narrowed it down to jalapenos that were at Chipotle, but what were the symptoms that individuals were reporting?
So people exposed to salmonella become ill will have diarrhea, sometimes bloody diarrhea, abdominal cramps, and fever.
Do you expect to learn of more cases as the news gets out about this?
So we don't think that there's an ongoing risk for this particular product. FDA announced yesterday that there was a recall, so this product should no longer be available at Minnesota restaurants. But because of the delay in how cases get reported, we do expect to see the case count to increase, but we don't necessarily think there'll be additional exposures.
Right, but as people learn about the news, they might say, hey, I also was sick, at the beginning of July, and I also ate at Chipotle. So you do expect those cases to increase. So then are the jalapenos linked to a certain supplier? Have you been able to make the link to a supplier or just the link to the Chipotles?
So when we identify a product like this, we do work with FDA and CDC and our NDA partners to trace it back. And so at this time, CDC released yesterday that they have written to a farm that was located in Mexico.
How can consumers protect themselves? I'm thinking about lettuce at Taco Bell, jalapenos at Chipotle. Should we just not eat at fast chain restaurants? Should we?
No.
What should people know? It's a little scary right now watching the news and seeing the lettuce and the jalapenos. How can I protect myself?
Right. So the basic preventions for foodborne illness are hand washing and cooking foods completely. That doesn't necessarily work for fresh produce items. So with fresh produce, you can rinse them and take steps to prevent cross-contamination, but you do still got to eat. So it's just a matter of the companies involved do take care to get good suppliers for their produce.
Yeah, a lot of the onus is on the restaurant, so we just trust that when we go out to eat that everything is clean and not contaminated. Will there be any action against the Chipotles from MDH? What is the process? Once you link it to a specific location, what does MDH do?
So environmental health will follow up with individual locations and give some information about food safety and cleaning and sanitizing. As far as that's about it. For a distributed product like this, it can come into the restaurant contaminated. There's not necessarily something that they did wrong. And Chipotle has fully cooperated on every aspect of this investigation for providing records, giving us recipes, and implementing all those mitigation steps right away to prevent further transmission. So that is not something that the Department of Health would necessarily be involved in.
Okay. Dana Eichmeyer with the Minnesota Department of Health, I so appreciate you joining us and helping us understand further this salmonella outbreak that's sickened 110 people in Minnesota.
Thank you.
All right. We are going to take a quick break, but we'll be back right after this. right, welcome back. Some breaking news this afternoon. A reported outage has prompted a ground stop at Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport. So just within the last 20 minutes or so, the Minneapolis Airport has posted on social media saying a regional FAA equipment outage is impacting flights at MSP. A ground stop is in effect for departures with some limited arrivals. They're advising individuals who are traveling today to contact your airline and make sure that you have all information about your flight and whether it will go off. But yes, we started getting reports of this afternoon around 2 o'clock, that there was a possible ground stop due to an outage. I'm just reading some news reports here that are coming in. So we're just knowing there is an outage at the air traffic control, and that is creating a ground stop right now. No word right now as to when planes may take off and land, but right now, no planes taking off or landing at MSP due to that outage. As news comes available on that, we'll continue to bring it to you. But if you've got a flight, you're going to want to check in with your airline before you head to the airport. All right, moving on to your other headlines of the day. A Senate committee voted along party lines today to hold Dr. Anthony Fauci in contempt of Congress over his refusal to answer questions at a hearing on his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. The vote sets up a referral to the Department of Justice for potential investigation over whether the country's longtime top infectious disease official properly exercised his constitutional rights when he pleaded the Fifth more than 100 times during that Senate hearing last week. And St. Paul Mayor Kali Herr is expected to make her first public appearance in just a few minutes. This is expected to start at 3:30. This is her first time being seen since those sexual harassment allegations became public. Herr will speak at a groundbreaking ceremony for a mixed-use development on Grand Avenue, and we will bring it to you live as soon as it gets started. And if you're planning to cool off this week, you may want to avoid Cedar Lake in Minneapolis. The Minneapolis Parks and Recreation Board has issued a hazardous blue-green algae warning for all 3 beaches, urging people and pets to avoid contact. Officials say the toxins can cause illness, and the beaches will remain under warning until conditions improve. And good news for state fair traffic. Highway 280 in St. Paul is set to reopen ahead of this year's Great Minnesota Get-Together after months of construction. Tonight, MnDOT is hosting a public meeting to update neighbors on the project, discuss what's been completed, and outline the remaining work expected later this year. If you want to attend, it's from 4:30 to 6:30 at the Van Cleve Recreation Center gym in Minneapolis. Again, that is tonight. Okay, Grace, do we have any more information about the ground stop at MSP, or did I report everything that we know?
It looks like you've reported everything that we know at this point.
I'm seeing some passengers post things on social media.
Okay.
I just don't know if we have the right to, report those things again. But it's mainly just people saying, like I was on the plane and then, the pilot came over and said, we have to go back to the gate. So. Yep. And these reports started coming out around 2 o'clock. So, but Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport didn't post anything until about 15 minutes ago.
Yep.
So,
and we'll keep you updated. I have the FlightAware map up right now. I'll pull it. It's not showing any. I'm actually not going to pull it because it's not showing anything out of the ordinary. It looks like. I can pull it up, Courtney?
Yeah, pull it up, because when you go to FlightAware, you can usually see a list of canceled flights. I would imagine that when you go to MSP, you're going to see everything, the whole board just canceled. So I am looking on the website right now. I was surprised not to see all the planes. Well, I see, it doesn't look unusual right now over KSP. I would expect to see a cluster of planes. There's a cluster of planes, but this might be an outdated map because they are not right over the airport. But yes, FlightAware is also saying Minneapolis-St. Paul is currently experiencing departure delays, an average of 45 minutes, and increasing. As we know, Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport has officially said there is a ground stop in effect for departures with some limited arrivals. So maybe that's why, I don't know why your map looks like that, but maybe that's why on the map I'm still seeing planes that are surrounding the airport. So they're still landing in limited capacity, but departures are at a ground stop. All right, we are going to take a quick break. When we get back, I'm hoping that we can bring you live to that groundbreaking in St. Paul, where we're expected to hear from and see Mayor Kaliher for the very first time since those sexual harassment allegations came to light. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. We are waiting right now for an event to begin in St. Paul. This is a groundbreaking of a multi-use building, including some affordable apartments, that is going to break ground on Grand Avenue. This is going to be Mayor Kaliher's first scheduled public event since the sexual harassment allegations against her became public. She was not there at Pig's Eye Park yesterday during those encampment sweeps. There were a lot of questions from reporters about where the mayor was since the encampment closures were her initiative. Instead, they sent an assistant mayor down to the encampment to speak to reporters today. She was still on the agenda, and it was still on her schedule that she was going to be at this event. We expect that reporters will have the chance to at least try and ask her some questions. She has not provided too much comment since these allegations came about, mainly saying that she will let the investigation run its course and she does not want to get in the way of that investigation. So as soon as it gets started, we will bring you that live. But we do want to check back in about this ground stop that is in place right now at Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport. So due to a regional FAA equipment outage, flights coming into and leaving MSP right now are being impacted. Departures are at a complete stop. they are doing limited arrivals. So we don't know what that means. They just said limited arrivals and to contact your airline for latest flight information. It could mean that they just have one runway open right now, and that's why they have to limit planes landing. The FlightAware map is not giving us too much insight. We're still seeing a lot of planes in the air around MSP Airport on that FlightAware map, and FlightAware 2 is reporting delays at MSP. So we, all we know is that there is an outage. We're hearing that it possibly is in the control tower, impacting the control tower, and that's why a ground stop is in effect. You know, on social media, there's some chatter from passengers just saying, we were on the plane. It was the pilot came over the loudspeaker and said, we're not going to take off. We're having some issues. But those are just, you know, social media posts. I don't have those confirmed. I don't have any confirmation that those are real.
Yeah, and I'm looking on the MSP airport page, and I'm just going to bring it up, and we can kind of go through and see for ourselves if.
Yeah, I was looking at this as well, and it doesn't really tell the tale of what's happening there, because it's showing that a lot of these planes have landed. You're seeing some delays. I saw one cancellation, but most of them are just saying landed on the ground. That's not giving too much insight there. But yes, this is an apparent issue with air traffic control that's led to this ground stop at Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport. Remember, this is an international airport. So I already saw on the list there that a flight to Amsterdam that was set to take off just before the 3 o'clock hour was canceled. So, which of course has a chain reaction of effects once a plane cannot take off. So this undoubtedly will be impacting flights around the nation and the globe today.
Oh, 100%. And if you, I mean, again, like the FlightAware map, it's showing that there's not much activity going on in the region, in this Midwest region of the Dakotas and Minnesota and Wisconsin. If you zoom out, you can really see all the flights, and it's pretty much, it's pretty empty in the region. But you know, hopefully we'll get more information as...
We do know that planes continue to land on a limited basis at MSP, but that departures are at a ground stop. I'm looking at a social media user who said that he was on a Delta flight and the pilot came over the radio saying that the airport radar is out in this part of the country, and that's why they were sitting on the runway. So that's just one person's account as to what they were experiencing while they were already on the plane. But yes, a ground stop at MSP as there is a regional FAA Air Traffic Center equipment outage.
I just wanted to interrupt. I am seeing in the live shot, Mayor Herr has arrived to the event. Let me see if I can pull that up. This is the shot we have coming in from St. Paul. She has arrived. This event was supposed to start at 3:30, and of course things don't always happen on time, but I did just want to let everyone know that she has arrived to the event. And this is expected to start anytime now.
Yes, so that means that we presumably will be hearing from Mayor Kali Herr today. She's at least going to speak about this groundbreaking. I know that our reporters on the ground are eager to ask her about the sexual harassment allegations that are in front of her. But she, in the past so far, has only said very limited things. She just says that she's cooperating with the investigation and she can't comment any further as there is an ongoing investigation. Today we will ask her again, but she has released a statement after those allegations came out saying that she is fully cooperating with the independent investigation since it began in April and will continue to do so. I respect the investigative process and believe it is important to allow it to reach its conclusion. I remain confident that the full facts will come to light, and I will continue to focus on serving the people of St. Paul with integrity and dedication. That was one of her last comments since these sexual harassment allegations came to light. Right now, she's on Grand Avenue at the groundbreaking of this multi-use facility that includes affordable apartments. Let's take a live listen in to what they're starting to say at that event. All right, it appears we are having some audio issues with that shot. My producer Grace Henry is working on getting that back. There we go. There we've got audio. Let's try.
The Grand Victoria features all the attributes of a developer's dreams and a developer's challenges. An iconic corner, a grand street, a historic neighborhood rich with 150 years of development spanning homes, businesses, streetcars, automotive dealers, service providers, urban malls, restaurants, grocery, stories. Billy Young and Dave Landegrim, in their book Grand Avenue, The Renaissance of an Urban Street in 1995, offered a textured history for how we came to stand here today. One of my favorite stories in that book is of Doc Chop, a Grand Avenue dentist who practiced here for 30 years between the 1940s and the 1970s, and one of the early and longtime leaders of the Grand Avenue business community. Doc Chop used to drive up and down the avenue each night, checking on the businesses, the people walking about, saying goodnight to the avenue before he turned in. We remember the many years of dedication to revitalize tired storefronts and pioneering investment at scale into the avenue. Bill and Jim Wengler, who were here on this corner for many years, the Stolpelstad family, the Kenneficks, we're here because of you. This is the history and dedication that guides us and from which we still have much to learn. Challenges, large and small, have and will always be primary elements of any development project, and the Grand Victoria is no different. As we can clearly see, this is a complicated, tight site with a historical context that must be treated with care and respect. Recent changes to zoning regulations have helped developments like this fit more naturally into the existing fabric in economically viable ways. Municipal participation in development projects remains essential in aligning budgets with financial realities. For the Grand Victoria, it took a special team to navigate these challenges, and I'd like to take a moment to recognize them. First, to my friends and partners, Steve and Peter, without your foresight and early dedication for this project, we would not be here today. You represent so much of what it means to support Grand Avenue, and I know the building will fit right in the line of past and future investments into this community and make you and everyone here proud. To our friends at the Shakopee, Midwaukee, and Sioux community, your trust in us and your investment in the potential of this project are fundamental to its success. Investments across generations for the benefit of current and future families and communities are what guide us both, and it is a deep honor to have you here with us. Our financing partners at Huntington Bank are committed to local relationships, community-based investments, and just being plain old good people. Thank you for all you do. Collage Architects, Pete, Chelsea, Lucas, Josh, Rachel, you have designed a world-class building fitting its prominent position within this community. Your creativity and commitment to design excellence have been on full display during the drawing process and will soon be on full display to all who live here, patronize its businesses, take a moment of respite in its gathering spaces, or simply walk by. Thank you. And what most can't see, but no less essential, in the civil and structural engineering features of this building provided expertly by Civil Site Group and Meyer Boardman Johnson are very well appreciated too. The Ironmark team, who are all standing in the back in their orange hats and vests, have done a remarkable job getting this project to what we're standing on right now, and they will expertly guide its construction through completion. You guys have done a phenomenal job. I can't thank you enough. The early stages of the Grand Victoria were focused on neighborhood and community engagement. The Summit Hill Association, Monica, Jennifer, and so many others welcomed us and provided the platform to share our story and engage the community in refining it. The building is better because of you. The Grand Avenue Business Association, Kim, Holly, Chris, and boards past and present champion new development and investment into our commercial corridor. We are all better and more successful because of your hard work and dedication to this place. Thank you. Council President Naker has been a steadfast supporter of both this project and Grand Avenue in general. Her expert leadership helps steward this project through the many elements of city review, and we can't thank her enough for putting in the work, making tough calls, and championing Grand Avenue. You'll hear from her in just a few minutes. Thanks to all the members of the HRA and HRA staff, including Jesse Higgins, who's here, and Melanie McMahon, who wasn't able to join us, for committing to economically viable development and to investments that will pay dividends in many ways for many years to come. Mayor Carter's administration was instrumental in shifting city policies to better accommodate new housing development, and we thank him and his team for all of their work and many years of service. And of course, to my friend and our mayor, Kali Her, our city long dream of a courageous leader dedicated to excellence in core city services, wise fiscal management, strength to make tough decisions, and grit and resilience to push through it all. Our whole team is inspired by your early success, and we eagerly anticipate all of the good yet to come through your capable hands on the wheel of our city. You give us confidence to continue to invest, take risk, and make the commitments necessary to help Grand and the entire city fully realize its potential. From my core, thank you for joining us today, and you'll have to excuse me for all those who I didn't individually thank. You are not forgotten. You are very, very, very much appreciated. Thank you to Carrie and the Nimble Project Development Services team for making this event and every element of this project run as a well-oiled machine, and to Goff for helping arrange this wonderful event today. And now, please join me in welcoming Mayor Her.
We're coming together.
Coming together.
Yes.
Great.
Okay. All right, I have some notes here to share with all of you. And I asked Council President to come up with me because this really is a strong partnership. We can't do the work that we're doing and the investments that were made in our city in just the 7 months that I've been here. I didn't do it by myself. And that it was really all of you that showed up, but it was also because I had this partnership with Council President Naker, who at every step of the way, every challenge that we came across, that she was always willing to dive in and work with us. And every investment, every project, whether it was downtown, whether it was Grand Avenue, that she was at every conversation with us. And so I just want to make sure that she's here to also get credit for all of the greatness that is happening here in our city. So I am pleased to be standing here in front of all of you at this groundbreaking for the Grand Victoria building. I want to just say how much I'm grateful for Ari, who hasn't not just been my friend, but also my partner in making sure that the investments that happen in our city happen in really crucial places. I am a little bit sad because I used to get my hair cut here and I won't be able to do that anymore. But this area is super special to me, that when I was a state representative, I represented this area as well. And I lived just a couple of blocks from here for 12 years, and I used to walk my children down here. We would go to Bread and Chocolate, we would go to Cafe Latte. That this is the place in which people raise their families, that they build a life, and they're able to secure jobs and create a future for themselves. And the fact that what we're doing here now is that we're adding about 100 units of new housing here. And the truth is that we can't grow our tax base. We cannot redistribute the property taxes that is heavily in front of us if we do not grow the number of units that are out there. And so to have partners like Ari, who was willing to step up, to see a project and say that I can invest in that, and I can put the stack together, the capital stack together, which whether that means bringing in historic tax credit or other levers, that we have our partners like the Mid-Waukegan-Sioux community, that we are able to work on a project such as this. So I am so grateful for your partnership and for your friendship and for the work that we're doing together. I just don't want to say too many things about really taking away from what is here today, and I want to just be able to turn over to Council President Naker, because the truth is that this work has been really about all of us, all of the investors, all of the neighbors, and all of the people who make the laws for our city to ensure that we can build housing for individuals. So I want to make sure to turn it over to you. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Yes, we were carefully advised that the podium is on wheels, so we're all being very careful, and that the stairs were on sand. Mayor, right back at you. We are so lucky to have you as our leader, have you at the helm. Our city is in such good hands, and this kind of project, this kind of momentum is only going to continue. I normally would say Ari is right about everything, but I do want to just paraphrase what he said earlier and correct it a little bit. I think he said that this development is on the best corner, on the best street, and I think then he meant to say in the best city in the world. So I just wanted to make sure I got that right. I am so honored to be here today. As the mayor said, this is wonderful. This is the kind of development that we need. This is the kind of revitalization that Grand Avenue is seeing and is continuing to see. And I think it's just important to think about the fact that we politicians are often talking about things in generalities, right? We talk about economic development, we talk about revitalization, we talk about potential, we talk about opportunity, but all of those things boil down to the nuts and bolts, to whether or not our city can work well with developers, which is something Mayor, you have prioritized, and to whether or not we have willing partners like Ari and other people in this space to make these things happen. And I don't want to underestimate what it takes to make those things happen. I only know the half of it, but it's the leadership, it's the vision, as my people would say, it's the chutzpah sometimes, to keep pushing through against all odds. So we are so grateful to have people like you, Ari, and all the people in this room who made this happen. And we cannot wait to keep seeing more wonderful things on Grand and in the rest of the city. Thank you all so, so much.
And we don't know who's next.
We don't know who's next.
Yeah, okay, Ari.
Ari's next.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Herr and Council President Naker. As I said a few minutes ago, you give us the inspiration to do what we do, knowing that we have strong leaders in City Hall backing us up and helping us move forward. It is now my great pleasure to introduce Chairman Cole Miller from the Shakopee, Minnewaukee, Sioux. New friend, I should say, Chairman Cole Miller. We have had the most delightful time getting to know you and your team in your community and the various ways that you're making significant investments into the betterment of our city, of our metro area, and it's really an honor to invite you up on stage.
My name is Cole Miller, and I serve as the chairman of the Shakopee, Minnewaukee, Sioux community. And I just wanted to thank everybody for having us out today. First and foremost, I have to give a shout out and a big thank you to our tribal members. Without their support and belief in the programs and the investments that we do, none of these things are possible. So thank you to them. But also, I need to mention my fellow business council members, our vice chairwoman Natasha Hacker and our secretary treasurer Ashley Cornforth. They could not be here today with us, but they are also excited about this project. A little bit of history from the community's economic development and diversification. The past 10 years or so, we've really been trying to diversify, and we've got some great players on our team now, including Thad Hellman, Tom Vogel, both are here today with us. Bill Ridnicki is our tribal administrator. He's been with the community for 30 years. And all of these people really help make these things possible for the community and helping us diversify. And I bring that up because I think that's what today is about, right? This is about investing not only financially, but also in the community. For us as Dakota people, these are all traditional Dakota homelands, and we've been the original caretakers of this land for thousands of years. And for us to be playing a part in the revitalization of this iconic Grand Avenue area in St. Paul really does feel good as well. So I appreciate everybody for being here and all the parts that you play in that. And I mean, it's great to be able to be a part of something that has a financial outlook. That's great, and that's what we like to do, with investments, but also that feel good of, like I say, the revitalization piece. So thank you all. It's been a fun partnership this far. Really excited for 2028 to see, I think it's 13,000 square feet of retail and over 90 apartment homes here right in St. Paul. So 2028 can't come here fast enough. Thank you all, and let's have a good day.
Thank you, Chairman Miller. It's now my honor to bring Jim Mulrooney from Huntington Bank up to the stage. Huntington is our financing partner, and their commitment to this project, to this city, to this metro area is really unparalleled, and we're so happy to have them on our team.
Thanks, Ari. And thank you all for joining us to celebrate this exciting milestone for St. Paul. As a guy born at 1740 Ashland, this is a really, really cool opportunity to see a corner of the town that I've spent a long time in years ago being revitalized in this manner. So congratulations, Ari, and all a part of that. It's a pleasure to be alongside Mayor Herr, Council President Naker, Ari, Chairman Miller, and Peter Knefik, and all the partners of this project. I have a number of my colleagues from Huntington Bank here today. Mike Trotter, Jake Laffey, our portfolio manager, thank you, and Jeff Payne as well. Today is more than just simply breaking ground. It's about creating new opportunities and strengthening a beloved neighborhood and investing in the future of one St. Paul's most iconic corridors. At Huntington Bank, we believe in strong communities are built through partnerships. That's why we're proud to support projects that bring people together, create places where individuals and families can thrive, and contribute to the long-term vitality of the communities that we are so proud to serve at Huntington Bank. Grand Victoria is a great example of this vision in action. This development will transform a prominent site in a vibrant mixed-use destination featuring new housing, retail opportunities, and welcoming spaces that will attract residents, businesses, and visitors for years and years to come. It builds on the rich history of the Grand Avenue corridor while helping position neighborhoods for continued growth and success. We're especially proud to be working alongside partners who share a commitment to thoughtful community development, the collaboration among Afton Park Development, the Shakopee Metawakan Sioux community, civic leaders, business leaders, and others to demonstrate what can happen when organizations come together with a common purpose, common goal, and common vision in alignment. Beyond building a beautiful new structure, projects like this generate beautiful, beautiful ripple effects. They create jobs during construction, support local businesses, attract additional investments, and contribute to the vitality that makes neighborhoods like this so special. Most importantly, they create places where people want to live, work, shop, and connect. On behalf of Huntington Bank, thank you so much to everyone who made today's groundbreaking possible. We're honored to play a role in bringing this project to life, and we are so excited the continued growth and investment of our beloved capital city is experiencing. Congratulations to all the partners, and here's to the exciting future for Summit Hill, Grand Avenue, and the great city of St. Paul. Thank you.
All right, you've been listening to officials speak in St. Paul at the groundbreaking of a new multi-use development there on Grand Avenue. The big highlight of that build is going to be an affordable apartment complex. Our interest in it was mostly that Mayor Herr was going to be there. Mayor Khalil Herr has not made a public appearance since those sexual assault allegations became public. This is her first public appearance today. From the shot we had from our camera, it looked like after she spoke on stage, she snuck out of the event. But I have been in communication trying to get in touch with the photojournalist that was there to see if she's still there and if they were able to, in fact, talk with her. Okay. Also, we're following this ground stop that's in place at MSP. We have a photojournalist on the scene there at MSP. There's his live shot right now. And he just told me, I just checked in with him and you can see it there. He said planes are taking off again. So it appears that that ground stop may have been lifted. We don't have official confirmation on that yet. Last we heard was that regional FAA equipment was experiencing an outage, and that was impacting the flights that resulted in a ground stop for departures with limited arrivals. But as you can see there, a plane taking off. So that ground stop may have already been lifted. We started getting word of this about 2 o'clock, so it seemed to last about 2 hours. And the planes now, looks like from that live shot, are taking off again at MSP. All right, we are going to take a quick break, but after the break, we're going to do a little segment we like to call Wait, What's Happening? As we take a look at what's trending on social media right now. Stay right there. Thanks for joining us here on All Day Live. I'm Courtney Godfrey. Happy Thursday, everybody. Almost to the end of the week, and we hope you've had a good one. Well, more beautiful weather today as we've turned down the temperature and we've returned to more average weather here for Minnesota. Meteorologist Erica Mrazek joins us now. Erica, happy Thursday. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Just lovely. Just lovely. I don't know if you heard, but I had my face lasered yesterday. So I'm just, pain is beauty, Erica. Pain is beauty.
Like laser hair removal or like?
No, like take off that top layer of skin because I'm trying to look
like
10 years younger.
Almost like those chemical peel things, but it's
way more intense.
I don't know what that is.
Call me in about 15 years, Erica.
Yeah, I'm gonna need that later. Yeah, in a couple years.
Anyway, take it away. Beautiful day again today.
It is a beautiful day. There's a little bit of a haziness to the sky. Overall, it's mostly clear, but some upper level smoke is kind of making it seem like there's almost a thin layer of clouds in the atmosphere. But overall, today's weather is pretty nice. There's no rain showers at the moment. The wind is from the south, so that's bringing in slightly warmer temperatures compared to yesterday, but overall close to seasonable. So zooming in right now, really not much happening. There's just a few clouds out there, but for the most part, it is a gorgeous Thursday. And so far today in the Twin Cities, it reached 82 degrees for your high temperatures, so right around average for the start of August. And the morning started off in the 60s, so a refreshing start and then a pretty nice afternoon. And then that southwest breeze still moving in. It's even a little bit gusty in terms of your wind speeds for the west and the north, where there could be wind gusts of about 20 to 30 miles an hour throughout today. But everywhere else, not as breezy, but definitely starting to see that warming trend. And dew points are picking up as well today and also especially into tonight. At the moment, temperatures in the 80s, a few spots still in the 70s, and then Grand Marais still in the 60s, 61 for areas in the North Shore. And then here in the metro, 82, almost everyone else in the 80s, except for Faribault, Owatonna in the upper 70s. But it's a very pleasant day out there. Don't need the umbrella right now, but you may want it into later today and into parts of tomorrow. So there is the chance for a couple isolated showers after the daytime's clear skies. That's going to be during the late hours of today in northwest Minnesota. Then a better chance for the metro and places southeast into tomorrow. So those are very isolated. They're not widespread. I would not cancel your plans, but there is a chance to see a little bit of moisture out there as we close out the work week. And then also after that, there's a few more chances for some rounds of showers. They are also isolated, so none of these are going to be a huge widespread system, but just pockets of showers and rumbles at times. So the next best chance Saturday night for some, and then better chances Sunday night to Monday morning. But overall, don't cancel the plans. Just have that umbrella ready just in case throughout the rest of this week and into your weekend, Courtney. And then temperature-wise, high temperatures will be in the 80s.
Lovely. A lovely, you know, my mom's coming to town from California and she loves when we're really hot. Like she's one of those wild people who just loves the 90s, but I think she'll like this weather too.
Yeah, my mom's coming to town too.
It's a mom party in Minneapolis
this weekend.
Well, hopefully the delays at the airport haven't impacted their flights. So
yeah.
Tell your mom we say hi, Erica.
Will
she raised
do.
a good one.
Yours too.
All right. Let's jump in to wait what's happening. So, excuse me, first. I got to stay on track. I have no script around here. So let's take this shot live. This is Mayor Kaliher. It looks like she is leaving that groundbreaking event. Let's take a listen in and see if reporters are able to ask her questions.
They have like, if you flip this around, it's like the 1 by 1 stairs that are already in
Okay, yeah, that does look like people were surrounding her, protecting her from having to answer any questions. Once she's safe in the car, her team has kind of dispersed. But there you go. We were trying to hear from Mayor Herr. This was her first public appearance since those sexual harassment allegations came to light. We were hoping to hear from her for the first time, but it does appear that Mayor Herr has avoided making any public comment. So we still are just left with the few statements that she's given about the investigation into those sexual harassment claims. And that's where it will stand, as she does not make any public comment leaving that event today. All right, shall we jump into what's trending on social media? This is the part of the show where we look at what's trending on the internet in a segment we like to call, Wait, What's Happening? Oh, look at that fancy new graphic. Love it. Yep. Yeah, what's happening? What's happening on your phone? We have fun around here, don't we? This one is so heartwarming. Just so wonderful to see people doing good work when on the spot, unprompted. A number of Good Samaritans intervened to stop an elderly man from being robbed in a fast food restaurant in Tucson, Arizona in July. Take a look at this. So footage posted to Facebook by the Tucson Police Department this week shows the 70-year-old man being followed into the establishment by the suspect. The perpetrator, as you see, attempts to steal his bag before pushing him to the ground. Witnesses then step in to assist the victim. The 34-year-old suspect did flee the scene, but officers were able to track down the suspect thanks to these individuals providing a witness, a description of the suspect, so they were able to apprehend him, and they did end up charging him. Love to see just everyday people stepping in when they see something that is not right. They get involved, and it's dangerous at times. You never know. You know, that person could have had a gun, they could have had a knife. Yeah. But those Good Samaritans said, we can't stand for this. We don't care the risk. We're going to step in and stop it. Who does that? I mean, a 70-year-old man using a walker.
I know.
Come on.
It's really just it's just disgusting. Like, that's the only word that I have for it. It's just people. He was minding his own business. He obviously had a walker, and people obviously like to prey on the people that seem most vulnerable, and he seemed the most vulnerable in that situation. But I'm so happy that there were people there that witnessed it.
Yes.
And hopefully that man didn't have any injuries, because you think about, 71 isn't super old, but with bones and I just you worry, and it's like, gosh, that could be anyone's.
Yeah, good for these guys for stepping in and taking the guy down, and then ultimately helping to get an arrest.
Yes.
So happy to hear that the police were able to locate this individual and charge him, throw the book at him. That's just, you don't attack elderly senior citizens. No. That's just wrong.
So wrong. Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Kudos to the people in Tucson. Harry Styles was showing off his style as he seamlessly slipped from what looked like an accidental fall on stage right back into performance mode at his show in Mexico City on August 1st. Watch this. So this footage was captured by a concert goer. It shows the moment that Styles appears to slip. There he is on the floor while running down the stage in Mexico City on Saturday. But without missing a beat, you can see Styles just gets right up, continues his performance while giving a little pose on the side. And we had to drop the audio because of music licensing rules, but the crowd gives him a big cheer. So they were happy to see him get popped back up and keep going. Now, why are you laughing?
It's just so funny.
This is not the first time that Harry Styles has had a faux pas. I don't know how else to call it on stage. He had I think it was last month, he had a wardrobe malfunction. His fly was down.
I have seen a video where his pants have split too.
Yes.
Because his pants, he wears
What's
too
going
tight.
on with Harry Styles? I think I've seen another video where he falls. Like, why does he keep falling and having wardrobe malfunctions?
Well, his shoes don't look like they have here. His shoes don't look like they have a lot of traction. If you look at the bottom of them, they're just kind of like, well, you can't see them here, but not much traction.
So maybe the slip and fall is all part of the performance. Like, he purposely wears shoes without traction so that he can go viral on the internet, get more fans, more people downloading his music.
Yeah.
It's all a marketing scheme.
Well,
Grace.
and it's like, if your shoes don't have as good of traction, you can probably spin a little bit easier, glide around.
True.
And I don't know. I thought that was, honestly, the way he kind of fell and pulled it off, that was kind of attractive. I'm not gonna lie.
He's fit.
He is fit.
He clearly is keeping up with his workout routine.
Yeah.
Like, It's like when you're a professional athlete. When you're a professional athlete, you don't just do the sport on the field or on the snow. You have to be in the gym constantly, and it's not just about building muscle. It's about creating a body that can bounce back quickly.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, when I was on the U.S. para snowboard team, we would do a lot of exercises in the gym that just prepared our muscles and our bones for impact, so that when we did take a hard crash, we could bounce back quicker, and that we could sustain the impact. Now, if I went out on those courses now, because I'm very out of shape, I would probably break a bone. But back in the day, I could bounce back because of the training. So I guarantee you, this guy is in the gym constantly.
Oh yeah. Well, I
doing
know
plyometrics.
Like Taylor Swift with the Eras Tour would run for 3 hours on the treadmill and sing her songs, because that's the kind of endurance that she had to build up for her big Eras Tour concert. That was 3 hours of her running around on stage.
She would run on the treadmill for 3 hours?
3.5 hours. The length of her, she would perform the entirety of her concert while running on the treadmill and singing in order to build up her endurance.
She probably brought it down to a walk at times, right?
I mean, I believe she was running or jogging at least, but I'll take a look. But yeah, I mean, just the physicality that these artists need to have is pretty cool. But yeah,
Harry Styles constantly falling on
well,
stage.
He's trying to make it onto Wait, What's Happening? Obviously.
He is. He's like, I want to be on that segment with Courtney Godfrey in Minneapolis.
Yep.
So I better slip and fall so that she talks about me. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
Well, Harry, if
here,
it happens again, we won't air it because we're not. No, I'm kidding. We'll take it anytime.
Anytime. All right. That is a segment that we like to call Wait, What's Happening? We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on All Day Live. Happy Thursday, everybody. Let's do a quick check of your headlines. Well, we have been following this ground stop that was in place at Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport. So MSP Airport reported that a regional FAA equipment outage was impacting flights at MSP. That led to a ground stop. They put a ground stop in effect for departures with some limited arrivals. They were urging everyone to contact your airline. Our photojournalist who's on the ground there at MSP says flights are taking off again. So we don't have an official update from MSP, but we do know that even if they have started taking off, there are reports that that these outages have caused delays of an average of 205 minutes so far in and out of MSP. So definitely check with your airline if you're flying today. In D.C., a Senate committee voted along party lines to hold Dr. Anthony Fauci in contempt of Congress over his refusal to answer questions at a hearing on his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic last week. The vote sets up a referral to the Department of Justice for potential investigation over whether the country's longtime top infectious disease official properly exercised his constitutional rights when he invoked the Fifth Amendment over 100 times at that hearing last week. And if you're planning to get outside and enjoy the lakes this weekend, you're going to want to avoid Cedar Lake in Minneapolis. The Minneapolis Parks and Recreation Board has issued a hazardous blue-green algae warning for all 3 beaches at Cedar, urging people and pets to avoid contact. Officials say the toxins can cause illness, and the beaches will remain under warning until conditions improve. And good news for state fair goers. Highway 280 in St. Paul is set to reopen ahead of the Great Minnesota Get-Together after months of closures. Tonight, MnDOT is holding a public meeting to update neighbors on the project, discuss what's been completed, and outline the remaining work expected later this year. That meeting gets started in just about 15 minutes. It goes until 6:30. It takes place at the Van Cleve Recreation Center in Minneapolis. All right, well, after the break, we are going to talk to a World War II historian, but I'm not going to be doing the interview because there is someone else in this building who is a far bigger expert at this.
No.
Tim Blotz. You are passionate about aviation, about this topic.
I love aviation and I like history in general. But this particular topic is something that I don't know that I'm close to, but I kind of tend to know a little bit about. And it kind of goes back to my grandfather. He was a Northwest Airlines mechanic right here in Minneapolis back in the early 40s. And one day he came to work at the old Wold Chamberlain Field and was told by his supervisors, go work with the Mid-Continent Airlines mechanics. They've got a special project that they're working on. We need you to help out. It turns out he was installing the gas tanks on Jimmy Doolittle's B-25 bombers for the raid on Tokyo. It was completely top secret. No one knew what they were doing at the time, right? They were just installing these extra gas tanks on these bombers that just showed up in Minneapolis overnight, and they all thought it was going to be for submarine patrol off the West Coast or the East Coast. Well, it turns out it was for the raid on Tokyo.
Wow.
So I've got a little family history involved in that.
I had no idea about the Minneapolis tie.
Yes, it's a huge, in fact, this is another bit of World War II trivia. None of the crew knew about the raid on Tokyo, but they were here with their planes and they were called into a hotel room. And a lieutenant colonel came in from the War Department in Washington, and he called them into a room inside this hotel and said, we've got a top secret mission. I can't tell you what it is. I can't tell you where you're going to go. It's going to be incredibly dangerous. Who wants to volunteer? And they all raised their hands.
Wow.
Right? So that all started here in Minneapolis. And It's one of those incredible pieces of history that no one knows. But I also lived for a while in New Mexico, and you know that. And so I've had the chance to do a lot of reporting at Los Alamos, right? Mm-hmm. We also had, which is central to the topic we're going to be talking about today. We also had the Navajo code talkers that were from New Mexico that helped in in the Pacific Campaign by using their language as special codes that the Japanese couldn't decipher, right? So they were from New Mexico. And then we also had the New Mexico National Guard members who were a vast majority of the contingent of soldiers who were captured on the Bataan Death March in the Philippines. So we have all of this rich World War II history coming from the state of New Mexico. And when we lived there, I actually took my daughters to Trinity Site at White Sands Missile Range, where they detonated the first atomic bomb. And there's a great little piece of history at the Truman Museum, the Presidential Library in Independence, Missouri. And if you go in there, they have a special display on Harry Truman's diary, okay? And the excerpt from the page from his diary, where he's at Potsdam with Stalin and Churchill, and his handwritten note in his diary was Stimson cabled, Secretary of War, Stimson cabled, the bomb works, ... What do I tell Stalin?
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Right? So there's all of this history that leads up to 81 years ago today, when the very first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. And there's always been this question ever since that we're going to talk with historian Jonathan Parshall about is, was it necessary? Did it save lives? Because we know it took hundreds of thousands of lives, right? But there's always been this lingering question, and Truman always maintained that it perhaps saved as many as 1 million lives,
yeah.
right, to prevent the invasion of Japan. But there's always been that question, well, could have there been other means to end the war, right, without using the bombs? And it's still kind of a lingering question to this day. President Truman still maintains that he would do it again. At least that's what he always said publicly, right? We don't know privately if he had ever had any doubts.
Well, I can't wait for this conversation. It's going to happen after the break. Tim's going to lead it. I can't wait. Stay right there.
I'm going to step in for Courtney here for a few moments. She's been on the air here for quite a few hours this afternoon and needs a little bit of a break. Today is a really important day in world history. 81 years ago today, the United States dropped the first ever atomic bomb that was ever used in combat. It happened in Hiroshima, Japan, on this day, August 6th of 1945, and it forever changed the course of human history. 3 days later, a second bomb was dropped, this time on Nagasaki, Japan. The death toll was staggering. No question about it. But for decades, in fact, even now, there's still some lingering questions about whether perhaps the bombs actually saved lives by preventing the eventual military invasion of the island of Japan. So joining us now to talk more about this topic is military historian Jonathan Parshall. And Jonathan's giving a lecture tonight at the Wings of the North Air Museum here in Eden Prairie at Flying Cloud Airport. We'll talk about more about the time and the gate that you need to get into to get to this in just a couple of moments. But Jonathan, my goodness, thank you for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, your research, and your thoughts on this, because this is a big topic. Thanks for being with us.
I appreciate being here. Thanks for having me.
Jonathan, President Harry Truman was really only in office for just a couple of months when he had to make this momentous decision. Walk us through the mindset of President Truman when he did make the decision to drop the bomb.
Sure. He comes into office immediately after the death of President Roosevelt in April of 1945. And so he's only been on the job at this point, a little over 3 months, and is having to come up to speed very quickly on all of the things that are going on to lead this war. And one of the things that he gets read in on, of course, is the atomic bomb. I would characterize that decision as more of a decision of whether or not to not drop it, because given the amount of industrial and sort of bureaucratic momentum behind this weapon system, we've already spent $2.2 billion to build the bomb. We've spent another $3.7 billion to develop the B-29 to carry the bomb. Given the way that combat has been going in the Pacific War up to this point, I think it would have taken a monumental decision on his part not to go ahead and use this particular weapon.
And one thing I always find fascinating, Jonathan, is that he was completely in the dark about all of this. And it wasn't until about 24 hours after FDR died that Secretary of War Harry Stimson came to him and said, "Oh, by the way, Harry, we have to talk."
Yeah, that's exactly right. Truman, earlier in the war, had been running a commission that was investigating whether or not there was fraud going on in some of the War Department programs. And when he and his team started, sniffing a little closer around this project called Manhattan, Stimson had actually pulled him aside and told him, "I can't tell you what this thing is. I can tell you it is under my direct watch. We're not misspending money here, but this is a project that could potentially end the war." So that's all that Truman knew up until that point.
Let's talk about. Let's talk about the weapons themselves here. There were two distinct and different bombs. There was Little Boy that was dropped on Hiroshima 81 years ago today, and then 3 days later, Fat Man that was dropped on Nagasaki. And from a scientific point of view, these were two different instruments, weren't they?
Correct. Yeah. Little Boy is a much more conventional design where we got two slugs of uranium. We're going to fire one of them into the other. We're going to create a critical mass, and the weapon is going to detonate. And from a scientific standpoint, we had much more confidence that that weapon was going to work. And so we didn't bother testing it. The one that we did test at Los Alamos beforehand was the Fat Man bomb, which is much more complex. It's based on plutonium. And in order to get plutonium to detonate, you have to compress it using these incredibly complex explosive lenses to, implode the weapon, create a critical mass, and make it go off. Plutonium was useful to us. I was just going to say, plutonium is useful to us because it's much more easy to manufacture. So if the plutonium bomb works, that means we're going to have a steady stream of these weapons throughout the duration of the conflict that goes longer.
And I'm still blown away all these years later that we didn't know if Little Man was going to work.
Yeah. So it was all kind of up in the air. And, there were all sorts of scary scenarios like, what happens if we detonate this weapon and it spontaneously sets all the atmosphere on the planet Earth on fire and things like that. And, they were able to say that this is a relatively low percentage chance of that happening. But nevertheless, we're very much in the Wild West here as far as the science is concerned.
Before we talk about the lives that potentially could have been saved by using these two weapons, I think we have to acknowledge the lives that were lost. My goodness, this was a catastrophic human toll, wasn't it?
Absolutely. When the bomb goes off over Hiroshima, in the immediate aftermath of the explosion and then the firestorm that consumes the city, roughly 90,000 people die right then and there within the first couple 3 hours. And then another further, probably around 50,000 or so are going to expire from their wounds or radiation sickness or what have you. So just the bomb at Hiroshima alone, somewhere around 140,000 people are going to be the victims of that. Nagasaki is somewhat less, but still the total toll between these two weapons is probably about 210,000 people.
My goodness. And that was the immediate effect. And then there's the radiation sickness years afterwards.
That's right. Yeah, to this day, there are still, a substantial group of Japanese people that are classified as victims of those bombs and receive, medical care and attention. I used to live in Hiroshima. You can still, meet with the victims today. When I take tours over to Japan for the World War II Museum, we still meet with an A-bomb survivor who was a 7-year-old girl when that weapon went off.
Mm-hmm. Which leads us to the central discussion tonight.
Yeah.
And that is, what about the supposition over the years that did it really save lives? Now, the Allies already had planned an invasion of the Japanese islands. They're going to be called Operation Downfall. And Harry Truman always argued that he made the right decision because in his mind, we were saving U.S. lives that would have been lost in a Japanese invasion. And there's still questions about that to this day, right?
Yeah, that's right. I am strongly in Harry Truman's camp. I'll just come right out and say that. Having led tours at places like Okinawa, which had happened in April through June of 1945 and had resulted in the deaths of about half of the Japanese population of that island, about 100,000 dead civilians. If you forward project what an invasion of southern Kyushu, which was the first phase in the overall downfall plan, you've got 11 million Japanese people living on southern Kyushu. And, you take the same sort of statistics that had pertained at islands like Saipan and Okinawa, you could, forward project to a body count in the millions easily. So just for that phase of the invasion alone, that's a much larger body count than what ends up happening historically at Hiroshima. And that was only the first part of the plan. The eventual plan is to go up and invade Tokyo. And there's, around 11 million people up there. So that was going to be a bloodbath for the Japanese, and it was going to be a bloodbath for the American troops involved as well.
Now, there's always been some historians over the year, Jonathan, that argued that maybe Japan was on the verge of surrendering, and then you had the what if of the Soviets getting involved in the war and declaring war on Japan, so you would have two fronts again. Any validity to that argument?
There's a lot of things to unpack there. The thing I would say is that we had broken Japan's diplomatic codes, and we were following all of the traffic that was going back and forth between Japan's ambassador in Moscow, who they were hoping to use as their sort of peace envoys, not knowing that the Russians were going to attack them. On July 21st, the Japanese ambassador in Moscow floats the notion to his boss, the foreign minister, who's strongly in the peace camp, and said, I think the very best deal we're going to get out of this war is unconditional surrender with the possible retention of the emperor. And when he floats that to his boss, Togo immediately comes back and says that's completely unacceptable. So I think any notion post-war that the Japanese were on the brink of surrendering is nonsense, frankly. And the hardliners were in control of the government at this point, and they wanted to fight to the last. So the bombs really act as a catalyst to help them change their mindsets that, we're not going to get an invasion of Japan out of the Americans anymore because they can just sit back and drop bombs on us until we decide to surrender. That, sort of obviated their hope for an American invasion.
Now, was there any evidence to suggest in your research that Truman and Stimson knew that the Japanese were not going to surrender?
Oh, absolutely. No. Both of them were in receipt of daily, what they called the magic updates, that were apprising them of the situation in Japan. And so it was crystal clear to the American planners at this point in time that the Japanese were nowhere near ready to surrender.
Truman always said, publicly anyhow, that he had no regrets about giving the orders to drop the bombs. That was publicly. Anything in your research to ever suggest that privately, maybe he had some doubts or regrets?
No. In fact, when he would be publicly called on that, he got into a little bit of a spat later on in his life with the city of Hiroshima, and he maintained fiercely, for all the reasons that we've just cited, that this was actually the better way to go. There's a further issue here that I'd like to bring up. We as Americans tend to frame this question strictly in terms of American lives saved and Japanese lives lost. But we need to spread our lens wider and consider what's going on in Asia as a whole at this time. China, vast swaths of it are still being controlled by the Japanese army. Same thing happening in Vietnam and Indonesia. There are massive famines happening in those latter two countries, and there's a tremendous amount of fighting going on in China. So it's not just Japanese people that are dying at this point. If you do the math, roughly speaking, every month that this war goes on, 500,000 people are dying, and 80% of them are allied combatants or civilians, mostly civilians. So anything that drags this war out further is going to be killing disproportionately more allied people, rather than the Japanese. And so as horrible as the bombs were, and I absolutely acknowledge that they ripped off the Band-Aid and allowed us to get this war over with as quickly as possible, rather than having to either invade Japan or bombard and blockade Japan into starvation. And while we're doing either of those things, of course, people are still dying in Asia as well.
There's no question that the loss of humanity worldwide leading up to this moment 81 years ago today was just catastrophic. No question, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, I wish that we lived in a world where there was a good option that could have ended the war without further bloodshed. But the reality is that we have a spectrum of terrible options to pick from. And so when given that sort of a situation, the least immoral solution that we have available to us is pick the least awful of those options and go ahead and do it. And that's what we did.
As a historian, Jonathan, if you could go back in time, if you had the opportunity to be in a room with Truman and Stimson and ask them some questions about your research, what's the question you would ask them?
That is a fascinating question. Again, I don't think that they were framing their calculus in terms of the wider world situation. Truman was to a lesser degree, but I guess I would have asked them that question. Have you considered what this option will do in terms of saving lives throughout broader Asia, including China, of course, which was an important ally for us? So I think that's the one that I would trot out.
Jonathan, you've got a lecture coming up tonight. Let's talk about that. This is going to take place at the Wings of the North Air Museum. We know it well. Bob Jasperson is kind of a friend of us here because we do a lot of stuff with Bob. And I take my daughters to his, we call it Planes and Pancakes breakfast fundraiser that they have a couple of times a year. Right. It's just a great organization, and their volunteers are fabulous over there. This is going to start at 6:30 tonight, right?
That's correct. Yep. And you've just basically gotten the Cliff Notes version of my lecture, but the one that I'll be giving tonight has much prettier graphics and goes into much more detail. So,
and this is free, I take it.
Absolutely. Yep.
And for those of you who are interested in going to go hear Jonathan talk tonight, when you go to Flying Cloud Airport, look for Gate H. Now, this is the gate that's near the soccer fields off of, I think it's Pioneer Trail, and you can get in there. So it's going to be a wonderful event tonight, and so much to learn. If you enjoyed this conversation that Jonathan and I just had, it's going to be much richer tonight, I promise you. So, Jonathan, thanks again for your time here.
I really appreciate you having me. Yep.
This was a fascinating conversation, and keep up the research, right?
Thank you, sir.
All right. Oh, Jonathan Parshall, historian, who's going to be lecturing tonight on did the dropping of the atomic bombs 81 years ago today, did it actually help save lives? So look for that discussion tonight. My name is Tim Blotz. Courtney Godfrey is going to be coming back here in just a couple of moments with more of your all-day program here streaming on Fox All Day today.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us this Thursday afternoon. Well, all week we have been interviewing political candidates ahead of the primary election that's taking place on Tuesday. Today, Mike Lindell, one of the Republican candidates for governor, joined our very own Rob Olson. Here's that conversation.
Today, we are joined by Mike Lindell, running for governor in the Republican.
Well, I'm not sure what was happening with that interview. Grace, do we have any update on what was going on?
Yeah,
there?
we're having. I don't know. Our playback system is having a little bit of.
Let's try again because it looks like it was playing that time.
Let's try one more time.
Sorry about that.
Let's see. Here we go.
Today, we are joined by Mike Lindell, running for governor in the Republican primary, not endorsed by the state GOP, but endorsed by President Trump. Mike, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, normally I start with a bio of candidates. I think you're well known, your story and your history, your name recognition is high in Minnesota, and that is, part of the reason that, believe that your name recognition is doing a lot in terms of the way the polling is.
Yes.
But let's start here with the first thing, and I know you released some budget details. We're going to talk about your budget in a minute. First, you were not endorsed by the state GOP. They came out pretty strongly after your endorsement from the president, saying that they stand by the president, but they do not believe that you are the right candidate to win in a general election against presumptive Democrat Amy Klobuchar. What's your response to that?
Well, they've been their endorsement's been picked for the people of Minnesota since 1994. They haven't won in 24 years, and Alex Pleklis should step down. He's attacked me since I announced I was running December 8th of last year, and And it's a shame when they get up to Duluth and they have this fiasco up there where the voting machines went down. Kendall Qualls wins their endorsement, and they haven't even helped him. They've been helping their Lisa Damath, who they let run, even though she broke her promise and said she would not run without that if she didn't get their endorsement. So you can kind of see a parallel here. I've been polling number one with the people in the last 7 polls. Now I'm like 80 or 90%. It's very high now. And when he started attacking after the president endorsed me, it's been one nonsense thing after another. Mike's not doesn't live here. Mike doesn't have a driver's license. Mike gives out pillows at parades. It's just, this is just an attack by our own party. I am the only one that can beat Amy Klobuchar. And we've had with the plan we have, and now putting out our budget today to make Minnesota the 10th state where we income tax free, state income tax free.
We'll get to that here in just a second. Let's finish up this with the concerns from the state GOP, where you'd mentioned, their concerns, I should say, about your residency in Minnesota. You have a home in Texas and a home here. They're asking the Secretary of State to ensure that you meet those residency eligibility requirements. What proof have you given? What proof can you give to show voters, to show the party of the state?
First of all, this has been brought up months ago, and I had to give it to the GOP even to qualify to go to their convention. They have my pay stubs from August 10th when I moved back here of 2025, my pay stubs. That said I'm paying taxes in Minnesota. I came here I could have waited another 6 months and still qualified for governor, but I came back. I could have avoided our state income tax for another 6 months, but I said, no, I'm coming back. I live here now 100%. And that was August 10th of 2025. Then a month later, I got my driver's license here and registered. They were sent, a Star and Tribune who attacked me there, they were sent a picture of that when they said I wasn't registered and that they didn't apologize when they found out I was. This is all out there in the public. 100% I can run for governor. He's doing this to put doubt in people's mind, reaching out to an office that has nothing to do with this. Steve Simon, who, by the way, we put up stuff on our website where he has actually committed crimes in this election, him and Keith Ellison, if you want to go there. He sends it to a guy. This would be the Minnesota Supreme Court. It would not be if there was any violation whatsoever or any doubt.
Okay.
So he's doing this to put doubt in people's head because the election is Tuesday, and I'm polling like 80 or 90%. He's not a good guy.
Well, the last some of the polls I've seen where you're polling, you're polling number one, 35% in a July survey by Survey USA. The polls you're referring to are those ones that you had commissioned, internal polls.
No. If you go to Polymart or Kale, right now it's got me at 86%. It's gone up every single day since Alex has attacked me. Every time he attacks it, and then we just had the big debate out at Farm Fest, and I went up another 3 points today. This is as the media continues to attack me, it seems like the people are seeing through that, and it's looking very good.
Let's talk about your budget, which you mentioned yesterday at Farm Fest would be out today. Now we're seeing some of the details that you've released, and the headline there, as you mentioned, is a desire to eliminate the state income tax incrementally. How would you do that? How would you cover the cost of that?
The budget just got posted 5 minutes before the budget on our website, lindellgov.com. So you can see the go there now, and you can see it's 82 pages. But you'll see an outline that's a lot easier to understand, everybody. And one of the main components is direct primary care, our healthcare system. We're going to save about $10 billion. At my company I was formerly with, now My Pillow, each employee would have saved 50%. The corporation, My Pillow, would save 30%. But this comes on the heels of Governor Walz passing or actually embracing the big beautiful bill 3 weeks ago, which made this possible. So direct primary care now, with part of that bill, that people can go to this plan I have, and it lines up beautifully. It couldn't be better timing of what happened there. And then the other, but there's so many things in there. For example, we talk about the illegals that we have 1,400 illegals at a cost of $159,000 a year to us taxpayers. It's I think 159 million a year that we're housing these criminals, illegals. And now with ICE just coming in with the detention center, that's perfect timing. The day I'm in a governor, take these illegals and get them out of here to do their time in their own countries and never come back.
You had, I have a couple of viewer questions I wanted to get to. We're running out of time. I wish we had more time, but we're trying to keep everybody to 10 minutes. You had told the Washington Examiner last week a proposal for a 6-month amnesty for illegal immigrants.
No, that's a lie. I never
said that.
The Examiner came out and used the word amnesty, and it went viral. I've never been for amnesty. I never have been, and I never will be. That was a media hit job.
Okay. Good to clear
that up. You can check
the
budget out. If you go to the budget, you'll see all the illegals and what we're going to do with them and the employers that employ them. And if they do it anymore, they're going to jail.
Okay. Let's bring up a viewer question. We got a couple we want to get in from Darla. If you filed bankruptcy on your own company, what makes you think you can run a state?
My Pillow's never had a bankruptcy. That's another media lie, everybody. Never had a bankruptcy. I guided I built one of the biggest companies Minnesota's ever had, to hiring thousands and thousands of employees. Built it from scratch, going around my state of Minnesota, selling My Pillows out of a pickup truck and trailer to selling 85 million My Pillows. We've never declared bankruptcy. We were attacked by our own governor. Our own government under Operation Arctic Frost and the machine companies. And My Pillow is stronger than ever. It's still standing. We guided it through some of the worst times in history. I got My Pillow. Was able to sustain that and guide them through attacks. I can fix Minnesota.
Okay.
And I've been working 6 months on this plan. So that's another media lie.
Okay.
Never been bankruptcy.
All right. And then one other question I wanted to get in here is if the legislature is controlled by the opposite party, what's one issue where you believe you could build bipartisan agreement?
I believe I can do that better than any candidate in history in Minnesota and around the country, because what I'm proposing, if you see my budget today, everybody, all Minnesotans, and it doesn't matter who you are, it's going to help you. It's going to make Minnesota affordable again. So if I'm blocked, I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat, I'm going to be the most transparent governor you ever seen. And everyone in this state's going to know, why are you blocking these things that help us as a state and as our people in the state? So it's about what's getting out there. And my private sector plan too is going to, the Minnesota Nice part, that's going to help subsidize this budget. You guys can check that out. But it's going to unite us all, the parties and the people of Minnesota. We all want to make Minnesota affordable again. 100,000 people have left under Governor Walz's watch, have left Minnesota. It's shameful.
Okay. And again, you've recently stepped down as CEO of My Pillow to devote your time to this campaign. We are out of time. That goes quickly. Mike Lindell, thank you for joining us today to spend some time with us. And again, looking for your budget proposals on your website. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you, everybody. And it's lindellgov.com if you want to check out the budget today.
All right, Rob Olson will continue those conversations with candidates tomorrow and then again on Monday ahead of Tuesday's primary. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. welcome back. To round out the show, we want to take a look at our headlines today. Just briefly recap everything before we send you off to our 5 o'clock news with Simone and Randy. Earlier today, we heard about a ground stop at Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport. So a brief ground stop went into effect around 2 p.m. today as a regional FAA equipment outage was impacting the control tower there. The Federal Aviation Administration issued the ground stop around 2 p.m. and at 4:15, the commission announced airlines were resuming operations at MSP and other airports. So still plenty of delays. At last check, the average delay as a result of this ground stop was about 200 minutes. My own mother is delayed a couple hours because of this outage. So. And in other news today, a Senate committee has voted along party lines to hold Dr. Anthony Fauci in contempt of Congress over his refusal to answer questions at a hearing regarding his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. The vote sets up a referral to the Department of Justice for potential investigation. And if you're heading to Cedar Lake this weekend, you might want to think twice about getting in the water. The Minneapolis Parks and Recs Board has issued a hazardous blue-green algae warning for all 3 beaches there at Cedar. Officials say the toxins can make you sick, so they're telling all humans and pets to stay away from the water there at Cedar Lake. And good news for State Fair traffic. Highway 280 in St. Paul is set to reopen ahead of the Great Minnesota Get-Together. There is a public meeting taking place tonight to update everyone on the progress and the work that remains to be done. That is going on until 6:30 tonight at the Van Cleve Recreation Center gym in Minneapolis. In other big news, the big First National Bank sign in St. Paul will be relit tonight at 9 p.m. Grace Henry, I know you're excited about this one. So the glowing red one, it's a 1 ST first, that has been on top of the First National Bank building since the 1930s, was down for the last couple of years.
Wow.
And the sign has just been deteriorating. You know, it's a really old sign, but they have new owners. And the Downtown Revival Trust bought the building earlier this year. And the organization's founder put money in to fix it. So they say it's 95% fixed. And yeah, they're going to relight it tonight.
Well,
so
that's great. I mean, it's always good to see some revitalization in St. Paul. And yeah, next time I go to an event at Grand Casino Arena or if I'm in St. Paul in the evening, I'll have to take a look. We've only got like 10 seconds left, and I did just want to mention that we will have Peggy Flanagan on early all day tomorrow at 12:30 to talk about her Senate run.
Tune in then. We hope everybody has a great day. Bye-bye.
This is Fox 9 News at 5.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here at 5 o'clock. I'm Simone Woolridge.
And I'm Kelsey Carlson. Here's a look at some of the stories that we are following today. Losing more than 200 officers and spending tens of millions in overtime just to keep up. Corin Hoggard breaks down the math behind the Minneapolis police budget crisis and what it could mean for your wallet. And Dakota County homeowners could see their property taxes jump by double digits for the first time in over a decade. Emily Pofall is live in Eagan, where county leaders are asking for your input